Okay, so today we're going to tell some stories. Not just random stories, though.
No, these are real accounts from people who, well, went through something pretty terrifying.
Yeah, moments where their feeling of safety just completely shattered. Someone crossed a line.
And these stories, they come from personal accounts shared online, actually, in a YouTube video. So you're getting it straight from the source, raw perspectives.
Right. It's about unwelcome attention, sometimes outright intrusion into their lives, their homes.
And our goal here really is to just tell these stories, look at the details, see how things unfolded.
And maybe figure out what you can learn from them about spotting dangers, protecting your space. It's heavy stuff.
Definitely heavy. But understanding these experiences, even though they're disturbing, can be really valuable.
Yeah.
You see how boundaries get pushed.
Okay, let's get into the first one. This involves a recent college grad, didn't have much money.
Right, so they found a furnished apartment, moved in with a new roommate they didn't know, a guy named Randall.
And the first impression of Randall seemed okay, easygoing, but quiet. Had a heavy Spanish accent, the listener noted.
And the room was furnished, the basics, bed, dresser, closet, standard.
But there was this one weird thing right away. Stuffed animals.
Yeah, on the dresser, and one in particular, a big teddy bear was sitting there.
Yeah.
Facing the bed.
Facing the bed, okay, that's odd. What did Randall say?
Apparently the listener asked about them, and Randall just laughed, like really loudly. They said his room had the same stuff.
And told them to leave them there.
Yeah, said it was to show respect for the landlord. Leave him be.
A bit strange, maybe just eccentric landlord vibes.
Or maybe not. That detail, the bear facing the bed and his reaction, looking back, it feels significant. Weird then, but maybe not like alarm bells ringing yet.
So the first night, the listener's just watching TV in their room. Here's this brief electronic noise.
Yeah, dismissed it, house settling, Heard it again later, a bit clearer maybe. Still, didn't think much of it.
But then the next day, Randall asks something really specific.
Right. The listener had been out. Randall was home. He asks what book they were reading. In their room.
Not just any book, but the specific one they were reading at that moment.
Exactly. The listener was totally confused. How would he know that?
What was his excuse?
Claimed he had to pop into the room to get something he'd left behind. And saw the book then.
Which sounds like a weak excuse. Why would his stuff be in their room?
Highly suspicious. The listener asked him, politely, please don't go in my room again. But here's the kicker.
What?
No lock on the bedroom door.
Yeah.
So whenever the listener wasn't home, the room was completely accessible.
Oh, man. Okay, so that excuse starts to unravel. The listener starts thinking.
Yeah, how could he have known about the book? Especially because, get this, the listener kept it under the bed.
Under the bed. Not just lying out.
Nope, not out in the open. So that discrepancy, that's what really triggers the alarm bells. Serious suspicion now.
So with this new suspicion, they start looking around the room differently.
And they notice the teddy bear again. But this time, it's not just sitting there, it's angled.
Angled how?
Perfectly to face the bed, like precisely aimed.
Oh no.
And that angle, plus the weird book comment, the noise, it sparks what the source calls a scary thought.
I think I know where this is going. They think they're being watched.
Exactly. They go over to the bear, look closely, and they find it.
A camera.
Hidden in one of the eye holes. A tiny camera lens.
What? Wow. The feeling must have been awful.
Heart skipped a beat, they said. That innocent little detail, the stuffed animal, suddenly it all clicks. The noise, the book comment, the angle, it's confirmation. Surveillance. In their own room.
What did they do?
Immediately, like no hesitation. Threw the bear aside, went straight to Randall's door. Locked, they started pounding, screaming his name. No answer. But then, they saw the light under his door go dark.
So he was in there, he knew.
Oh yeah, he knew. Realizing the danger, the violation, they did the smart thing. Called the landlord immediately.
Explained everything.
Yep, said, I'm leaving right now. This lease is void. Packed the absolute minimum.
And just got out.
Got out that night. Never looked back. And interestingly, the landlord never chased them for the few days' rent. Maybe they understood.
And the listener?
Developed a phobia, basically, of stuffed bears facing them. Understandable.
That is deeply disturbing. It shows how those little things, the noise, the comment, they were warnings.
Absolutely early signs. The camera was just the proof. But the listener's reaction, acting fast once they knew, that was key.
Trusting that gut feeling and then acting decisively.
Yeah.
Huge takeaway. Okay, shifting gears now. Second story. This one takes place in 2016.
Right. Listener's family moves. New neighbors invite them for a BBQ. The neighbors are a husband, wife, and their teenage son, Jeremy.
First impressions.
Husband seemed nice enough. But the wife and the son, Jeremy, the listener described them as cold.
And Jeremy himself.
He was really off. Didn't talk, just kept looking around constantly. Seemed kind of sad, gloomy. Listener got the feeling maybe he had some mental or social issues.
Okay, so a bit unsettling from the start.
And it gets worse to the BBQ.
Yeah.
The listener catches Jeremy staring multiple times. Makes him really uncomfortable. Try to avoid eye contact.
That feeling of being watched. Then what happens?
Escalation. The very next day, listener's walking to school, just 2 blocks away.
Okay.
Looks back after passing the neighbor's house, sees someone dive behind a tree, trying to hide.
Whoa.
Starts walking faster, looks back again, closer to school, last block, sees the same person hiding in a bush this time.
Let me guess. Jeremy.
It's Jeremy, looking right at them.
That's terrifying, being followed like that. Did they tell their parents?
Yes. And the parents did talk to the neighbors, but the neighbors just said Jeremy is, quote, apparently not like the other kids.
And the listener's parents accepted that.
Seems like it. They told the listener to just ignore him, even after the following incident.
Wow. Just ignore someone following you and hiding. That feels irresponsible.
It really does. Dismissing creepy behavior with a vague explanation, especially when it involves stalking. It's a failure to protect, right?
Definitely. Did the behavior stop?
No. It escalated again. Later, listeners doing homework outside on the patio, thinking about Jeremy actually, looks up. There's only one window in the neighbor's house that overlooks their backyard. And Jeremy is sitting right there in the window, staring.
Oh my God, watching them in their own yard.
And when the listener saw him, he quickly ducked down, hid again.
Did they tell their parents this time?
Ran inside, told them again, and got the same response. Parents just repeated what Jeremy's parents said, told him not to worry.
This pattern is really concerning, dismissing clear escalation.
And it leads right to the climax.
Yeah.
That same night, listeners in bed, here's a click at the window. Then the sound of the window sliding open.
No. Someone coming in.
The listener screams. Parents rush in, just as someone is climbing through the window.
Who is it?
Parents flick on a light. It's Jeremy. And he's holding a knife, a big kitchen knife.
Oh my God, a knife.
Just horrifying. Staring, following, watching, and now breaking in with a weapon. Everyone's screaming. The dad grabs the listener, pulls them out of the room.
What happens then?
Family runs over to the neighbor's house. The neighbor comes back with them, finds Jeremy in the living room, grabs the knife away, drags Jeremy out.
The listener's dad must have been furious.
Absolutely livid, screaming at the neighbor, sends his family inside, calls 911.
What happened to Jeremy?
Police came, took him away. The story implies it was maybe to a facility somewhere for people with mental disabilities, not jail.
And the neighbors.
Listener's dad got a restraining order immediately. Told the neighbors, you move within a week or else. And they did. Gone in a week.
I can't even imagine. The listener said it was the scariest thing ever. I believe it.
You see the clear progression, right? Minor creepy acts escalating to outright violence. It's a chilling reminder not to ignore those early signs.
And the parents. Their dismissal really enabled this, didn't it?
It seems like it played a huge role. Relying on the perpetrator's family's explanation instead of trusting their own child's reports of genuinely scary behavior, it allowed the situation to become incredibly dangerous. That gut feeling matters.
Okay, one more story. This one involves a different kind of situation. Vulnerability after a night out.
Yeah. Listener goes to a bar with friends Saturday night. Admits they got pretty drunk. The night's kind of a blur. Vaguely remembers talking to some guys.
And they live close to the bar.
Walking distance. And they had this habit. Leave a spare key under a flower pot on the stoop. For nights like this, easy access.
Uh-oh. I have a bad feeling about the key.
Right. So they get home, use the key, lock the door behind them, go straight upstairs to bed, don't even change, just texting friends, checking if they got home okay.
Then what?
Here's the front door open. Downstairs. First thought. Younger brother, he gets home late sometimes.
Okay, plausible maybe.
But then almost right away a text comes in from their best friend, asking how they got away from the creep that wouldn't stop talking to them at the bar.
A creep at the bar, listener doesn't remember because they were drunk.
Exactly. Night's a blur. So they're confused by the text, then they hear more noises downstairs. Still thinking maybe it's the brother making a snack.
Okay.
Then, footsteps. coming up the stairs.
Footsteps coming up, not the brother.
Well, that's the question. But right then, another text from the friend. And this one is alarming.
What did it say?
She says she saw the guy, the creep from the bar, leave right after the listener did.
Okay, now the timing clicks. Even drunk, that registers. Suspicion starts building fast.
Yeah. The footsteps reach the top of the stairs. Stop.
Yeah.
Right outside the listener's bedroom door.
Yeah.
The door opens. Quietly. It's dark in the hallway, can't see who it is. Listener whispers their brother's name.
Does anyone answer?
No. The door just shuts. But no sound of footsteps walking away.
Silence. Meaning someone is just standing there, outside the door.
That's the terrifying implication. Standing silently in the dark hall.
Okay, panic time. What do?
Instantly text their brother. Are you home? Something like that.
And the brother.
Text back immediately. Surprised. Says something like, "Was what me? Why do you keep opening the front door?"
Wait, what? Why does the brother think they're opening the door?
And their mom's away. It's just them and the brother's supposed to be there. That text confirms it. It's not the brother, it's an intruder.
Oh my god. The creep from the bar followed them home.
That seems to be the horrifying realization. Listener calls 911. Says the operator's voice makes it suddenly feel incredibly real, the danger they're in. Tries to explain, thinks it's a break-in.
While they're on the phone.
Yeah, still on with 911, lying in bed. Leans over, turns on the bedside lamp.
And the light comes on.
And there's a man standing in the corner of the room, by the door.
He got in the room. How?
Listener screams. The man in the corner just opens the bedroom door and bolts, runs out the front door.
Gone. Just like that.
Flees. Listener stays on the line with 911. Operator talks them through it until the police arrive.
Okay, police are there. Listener's intoxicated. Description is probably hazy.
Yeah, mid-20s, stocky build, beard, short hair. Not super detailed. But then one of the officers holds something up.
What is it?
The spare key from under the flower pot. He found it in the front door lock.
He used the key. He didn't break in.
Exactly. Which means he must have followed the listener all the way home and stood there, watched them retrieve the key from under the pot.
That is incredibly calculating, watching someone's routine like that.
Deeply disturbing. Pure premeditation. The police figure this out pretty quickly. They patrol the area all night, tell the listener and brother, lock your doors, find a much better hiding spot for any key, or better yet, don't have one outside.
The next day must have been rough. Hangover plus the trauma.
Huge relief mixed with the hangover, yeah. Friends confirmed it later. Yeah, that guy was creepy. He was all over you at the bar. You just didn't seem to notice.
And the listener learned a lesson.
Took a long break from bars, they said, and definitely stopped hiding the key outside.
Yeah.
Ever again. It really shows how being intoxicated or even just distracted makes you vulnerable.
And how someone can watch your habits, your little routines, and use them against you. The key thing is chilling.
Yeah, situational awareness, even when you feel safe, like near home or with friends, it's so important. And basic security, like not having an obvious key stash.
That friend's text too. It was a warning sign that just didn't fully register because of the alcohol. So looking at all three of these stories, pretty harrowing stuff. What are the common threads here? What should listeners really take away?
Well, one big thing is that feeling of escalating behavior, right? It often starts small. Odd comments, staring, someone just making you feel uncomfortable.
Like the teddy bear detail, or Jeremy staring, or the guy at the bar the friend warned about?
Exactly. Then it moves to more active stuff, following, watching, like Jeremy did, or the camera, or the guy following her home.
And then the final act is that physical violation. Entering the room, the house invasion, using the key to get inside. There's a pattern.
There really is. And recognizing that pattern, not dismissing the earlier, smaller things, seems crucial. They aren't always small. They can be indicators.
Like the electronic noise, the book comment, the following, the friend's warning, they were all clues.
And that connects to trusting your gut. That feeling of unease or being watched. These stories show that feeling is often valid, even before you have concrete proof.
The parents in the second story are a stark example of what happens when you don't trust that reported feeling from someone.
Definitely. And practically, yeah, simple things matter. Locks on doors, not advertising your routines like where you hide a key. Basic awareness.
It highlights vulnerability in places you expect to be, safe in your home, with a roommate, walking near your house, coming back from a night out.
Yeah, these aren't attacks by total strangers jumping out of bushes necessarily.
Yeah.
Two of these involved people who had observed the victim, learned things about them. Randall, the guy from the bar, Jeremy lived next door.
That adds another layer of creepiness, doesn't it? Someone specifically targeting you after watching you.
It really does. The psychological impact, too. The phobia, the change in habits, it stays with people.
So we've walked through these 3 really unsettling accounts today, looked at the details, the way things escalated.
And hopefully, hearing these experiences, disturbing as they are, helps reinforce why trusting your intuition matters, why noticing those red flags is important.
And the value of just basic safety measures, right?
Absolutely. These stories leave you thinking, don't they? That sometimes the real threats aren't random noise, but someone who's been paying attention, someone who knows your patterns.
It really makes you question, what does feeling secure actually mean? And how much of it relies on just hoping no one is watching too closely? A really unsettling thought to end on.
Thank you for tuning in today.
We hope this gave you something to think about. We'll catch you next time.